This is our
Your version
story.
is always more hilarious than mine.
It's not hilarious. Okay, so this is how we met. Back in, excuse me, back in, let's say, 1996.
Okay.
I come from a military family, so my dad was stationed to Georgia, and he wanted to make sure he got the family situated before he went to his assignment, which was in Augusta. Mm-hmm. So we moved to Atlanta while he was going to be stationed in Augusta. While he was here, he found us a house. He wanted to make sure he got us in church and whatnot. So we came to World Changers Church. I didn't want to be there because we came from a small church and we heard that World Changers was a really big church. Mm. So I was really, really nervous to come to this big old church in this big city that I thought was all about sex, murder, and drugs. Literally. And so, so anyway, we came to the church. When I came to the church, we came in, we came to the chapel. We came in, went to the left side, and the choir was singing. And I see the musicians. I'm a church girl, choir girl too, so I'm automatically drawn to this. But I see this little kid.
Was I a little kid or like
he was
your age?
Totally little looking. He looked little.
Whoa.
Maybe I felt grown because I was the baby.
You definitely acted grown.
Anyway, so I see this boy. I mean, he can't be too little because I'm attracted. So he's like playing the bongos.
Congas.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Congas, bongos, whatever. He's playing and he's got on this little shirt and little suspenders and he's just going to town on the congas. But his little suspenders kept falling. I thought it was so cute. So I'm like, oh my God, he's so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay. So weeks later, I was invited to teen ministry. We came to teen ministry for the first time. I was actually supposed to be in super church because of my age, but I was scared because it was a big church. So I came to teen ministry. Well, guess who was in teen ministry? The little kid from the Congas. So I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. So we went. He didn't say anything to me the first time, but after a few times of going, he came up to me after one Bible study, and he goes, and we're standing outside waiting for my mom to pick us up from church. So he goes, out of all your sisters, it was 3 of us at the time, out of all your sisters, you look the best. And I just, I think that's all I had. And then
she said thank you.
Right, obviously. And then the rest was history. We started talking, and I was head over heels in no time. And then we began.
And then what?
We began.
Yes, we did. We did. So when we began, we were both, she was turning 12. I was turning, I believe, 13 or something like that.
Yes.
And, I was a kid trying to find himself, like most kids that age. Most kids, we call middle schoolers, they're in the middle lane trying to figure out if they're going to go right, if they're going to go left, if they're going to go up, if they're going to go down. So I was definitely in that space, but I would say times 10. So as a kid, everybody has greatness about them that they hide behind. So for me, what I hid behind was my joke telling and my comedy. I could make a party a party. I could make a conversation a conversation. But I was that kid that could make anybody laugh. But that was what I hid behind. And first impressions, I wanted to try and reinvent myself. So when I say, when you're in middle school and different things like that and you're in the middle, I was trying to figure out what version of me I was going to introduce to Constance. And with that, it was very, it was fun. It was freeing. We would talk for hours about nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
About nothing. We would definitely, like teenagers nowadays, they go to sleep
on
FaceTime with each other. We would definitely go to sleep with the house phones and just tying up the lines. And if somebody's calling in, if we sleep, we ain't hearing it, So hopefully there wasn't an emergency that was trying to come through the phone lines back then. But our relationship from the initial lasted until I was 16.
Yes.
16.
Until he was 16. I remember it very vividly.
Okay.
Why I remember it very vividly is because when he turned 16 is when we broke up. Now, mind you, before this, all in between this time from when we met, when I was 11 turning 12, up until this time, we spent like every moment we could together. His mom and my mom, she was a little smitten by our love for each other. She's like, oh, it's puppy love. She didn't really, believe that we were serious or anything. But she assisted us in seeing each other by letting us go to the movies. So if we went to the movies, we would have to go with my mom, his mom together. If we wanted to go to the mall or eat or something, it was like the four of us. And that's how we all kind of connected. And I built a bond with his mom at the time and at that time, and we just grew. So much so, my father was away at this time, but so much so that when my father came home, and when Anthony talks about hiding behind, what you were hiding behind, like you hid behind your comedy, but you were a very angry boy. So because we were so tight, your mom would like call dad when you would act out. So we were really, really close. And so during this time is when I told Anthony, I told you at what? I think I was about 14. And I told you that I wanted to be your wife.
This is before we broke up.
This was before we broke up.
I was over your house.
And I said, I want to be your wife. And so I would practice writing my name. I have the paper to this day. I would practice writing my last name. And I told you I wanted 2 kids. I wanted a boy and I wanted a girl. And then you said to me, well, since you want to be my wife, let me just propose to you now. So you have it on a paper. I swear I have this paper. It says, will you marry me? And then I said, yes. And that was at 14. Right. So, here we go. We're living life. I'm thinking we're about to freaking be here until marriage.
Right.
And then Anthony turns 16 and freaking says, you're a really good girl and I don't want to mess you up. I'm like, what kind of crap is that? So he was like, yeah, I think it's best that we don't be together because you're a really good girl and I don't want to mess that up. And I'm thinking, you're a horrible person. You're such a horrible person. And is this really, really happening? Y'all, I literally had nothing but Anthony in my system for the bulk of that time. From the time I was 12 to 16, till he was 16. So
what do you mean when you say in your system?
I mean, like, relationship wise, we're not. What
do you mean?
We're not. What I meant was he was the main one that I was focused on for the majority of that time. Okay. And so
and she did have other interests after that, but
and kind of in between that, it was really weird. But he was my main.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so he breaks up with me, and when you break up with me, I'm completely devastated, and my heart is broken. But as time passes, I realize like, okay, he's about to start acting wild, and I knew that I wasn't on that. You know what I'm saying? So after being heartbroken and crying, I realized, you know what? I respect that he respected the fact that I am who I am and I'm not getting down with that other stuff. On his side, he had just got his car, his license. So this nigga trying to go see girls on the north side, south side, east side, west side. and his hoeing began.
I think I believe it kind of began before then.
Okay.
When it came to, we were sexually active very young.
Yeah.
Very young.
Yeah. Just how young is irrelevant.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. It's so irrelevant.
I think our audience wants to know.
Absolutely not. Maybe some other time.
What are you hiding behind?
This is not the time.
You want to tell him? Tell him.
No. It's irrelevant.
It may set some people free.
Why?
I don't know.
Absolutely. You just want to dish
some people
out
out there feel like they're the only ones.
We were sexually active as young adolescents. There you go.
There you go. Adolescents. Trying to figure this thing out. But yeah, so I got my license, and as she said, north, south, east, west, east side girls at that time were very pretty and very I guess in those days the upper echelon of Atlanta's women. West side was more that hood side. That's where you go, and you got the girls who got the EBT. They got the Section 8, which means they had their own place, they had their own food, and you could go over there and kick it or whatever. North side, we tried to stay away from. South side were the girls that you kicked it with, but it's like they just more likely to set you up for a robbery or murder just like anybody else.
So which category would I have fit in?
You would have fit in church girl.
Oh, okay. I wasn't in that category, which is why he dumped me. All right.
Well, that wasn't why I dumped you. My point when we broke up was legitimate. I knew what I was on, and I knew what you were on. And I felt like, first of all, let me say this. I always knew that you would be my wife, even at a young age. But I didn't want to, I was very mindful of how I wrote my story, which most kids ain't.
Yeah.
Wow. Some of the things in my story were controllable, which means I had control over them. And then others were out of my control, but were based out of my decision making.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I was always in love with you, and every girl that I got with after you knew my heart for you. They knew how close we were, and they knew that we stayed in contact, because we did stay in contact.
We did stay in contact.
We were in contact.
No, not like contact.
Like contact.
No, we weren't.
I don't know what you want this to be. I thought we
hurts.
I thought we were being like transparent and genuine here.
That was not. So we weren't in contact.
We were in contact
all the time. It was just there were certain times, because I definitely dated after you, so we weren't in contact.
Most of the guys that you dated were afraid of me, and that displayed a problem, because you got to realize I'm from South Side Atlanta, right? And she lived in Jonesboro, which is considered now South Side, but back then wasn't really considered South Side.
It was like Jonesboro.
Go Jonesboro.
Go Cardinals.
Right. It was like that. And, I'm from McNair Middle School, Banneker High School, Bethune Elementary, Godby Road, Old National. So my perspective or how I viewed things wasn't like how the ordinary person viewed things. So somebody who lived in Jonesboro, a dude living in Jonesboro, would go, oh, that's your ex-boyfriend? Too tough for him. But my perspective would be, oh, I'm the ex-boyfriend. I feel sorry for you because I don't go to school. I skip school. And I'm going to be in your classroom, in your third period class, guy, whoever whatever your name is. And it was so bad, I remember vividly, one of your boyfriends you was with, y'all broke up and he started dating another girl, and I was so petty, I started hollering at the new girl he was dating and ended up taking her from him, and then went up to his job with your brother.
It was a mess.
To rub it in.
It was a mess.
You see what I'm saying? The difference? South side and South side. You feel what I'm saying? It was a difference, man. It was petty. I was I was a terrorist.
Yeah.
So I would be at her school for lunch periods and different things. I would be at a lot of different schools. I'd be at Lovejoy, everywhere but mine, which is probably why I dropped out of high school.
That's about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Finally, it comes out. So I dropped out of high school in 10th grade, which gave me enough time. I had free time. So
much free time.
Oh my goodness. So I was over at her school, this school, that school, and different things like that, and I would be up there pretty often.
In my lunch period, he would pick me up after school. He and my brother were cool, so sometimes he would like link up with my brother. It was crazy. He was like moving like a whole adult, and I'm over here like, oh yeah, my boyfriend on the way, or it was crazy. Anyhow, so
she loved it. She loved every bit.
Whatever. So we're talking about after you've left me. That's what we're talking about. After you left me.
After I left you, I wouldn't say left. We weren't officially a couple, but if there was any time you called or paged me 143,
I wasn't paging you 143
17, you definitely would stay in contact with me when you were with your boyfriends.
That is not true.
Are you trying to save face?
I was not that type of person. That must have been in between. See, this is the thing, okay? When we tell our story, the reason why our stories conflict is because I was very present in the moment, and he smoked a lot of drugs.
You know, you could blame it on the drugs if you want to. I know exactly what I was on, and I know exactly what you were on, and we made contact.
A lot of weed.
I did.
So his memory, in my opinion, is a little distorted.
In certain areas. Not those, though.
Okay. So anyhow, 16, he broke up with me. Mm-hmm. Yes, we did keep in contact. Yes, sometimes we did make contact.
Yes, we did.
And so time passes. I move on with my life. He moves on. Mm-hmm. And then there were times where we would... when I graduated high school, we would like try to link up, because at this point now I'm a young adult, he's a young adult. He was on his own. He had his own place at 17. So by the time I graduated high school, he's like 19. Mm-hmm. And so we would like keep in contact. And at this time, now I'm actually going over to his apartment.
And this is what let you know that we were still, you know, I think your homecoming. I was your homecoming.
Babe, that was 10th grade. Oh. And we were still together.
Oh.
Absolutely. See?
Okay.
And so at this point, we would stay in contact. You're 19, you have your own place. Mm-hmm. So now, I don't know what his situation was over there. It's like he was dating, but he wasn't dating. But then he would call me over there, and I would come, because at this point, I don't have a boyfriend, and so yeah, whatever.
She would come over and make contact.
Gosh. Anyway, so we would come over there, and he had an apartment.
You would come over with your friends sometimes,
and then my sister, he had this apartment. My sister started decorating his bathroom, and I would do all the little cute domesticated stuff, like trying to show him I am that girl, like cleaning up, bringing him food and all this other stuff. But he still has some residue of like other girls going on. And so I stepped back because it was getting messy.
It was.
And I didn't want to deal with that. So by this time, I met another guy, and he and I got really serious. And I'm thinking,
now this guy I didn't know because he was in another state.
He was in another state.
I couldn't say he was afraid of me or anything like that. I don't want to put it like that. I didn't have an opportunity to put pressure on him like I did every other guy she dated.
So anyway, we were together. It was serious, and then there came a time, like in our relationship, me and the other guy, where I kind of faced a crossroad, and Anthony was kind of trying to come back around, and I realized, like, crap, I need to make a decision. Mm-hmm. Now, this particular guy, very successful young man, whatever, but he was about to graduate high school. He was kind of like a year behind me. So he's about to graduate high school. I had been out of high school, and he was looking to see what his next move was going to be. And so based off of our relationship, he was looking to move to Georgia. And I knew how serious that was. But I also knew that I was at a crossroad. So I'm like, crap, because I'm feeling like, me and Anthony might crank back up. And
because we stayed in contact.
He's serious about his future, and I know, like, I really care for him too. So I broke it off. I was like, you know what? Because I don't want your next moves to be based solely on me. Yeah. I want you to go wherever you need to be successful, because I don't know where I'm at right now. And so I broke it off, and then eventually Anthony and I ended up getting back together. When we got back together, we kind of had some run-ins with his exes. By this time, guys, Anthony has had Junior, and let's see, I think Terrell was here. Mm-hmm. So by this time, Anthony's like 21.
I believe Junior came when you were still with old boy.
Yes. Because he came when you were 19. Mm. So, anyhow, so we get back together, and he's got kids now. I believe we kind of resurfaced when Jeremy got married. Okay, Siri. Jeremy got married, and yes, his brother got married, and you were with one of your girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And I remember being really excited. Me and my best friend at the time, we came to the wedding, and I just knew I was going to see you. I hadn't seen you in a while, and I knew I was going to see you at this wedding. And it was really at the party before the wedding. And anyway.
Oh, at the skating rink.
Yes. And so I came looking real, real cute. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know I'm going to see.
You definitely look cute.
See Anthony. And we got there, and you played me so bad.
Unintentionally. It wasn't my intention. and you could call it, I was just stupid, because I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings, but the harsh reality of it was we weren't together.
We weren't together, but
we stayed in contact.
Right.
That's
so
it.
The staying in contact at that time was leading me to believe, like, the contact, I'm not an idiot, so I know when you're keeping in contact saying, like, this is going somewhere, and when we're keeping in contact, like, we just, whatever. So at this particular time, the contact was like, this is going somewhere, which is why I was so excited. Yeah. So then we link up at this party, and he plays me because he's got his current girlfriend. Were y'all dating?
Yeah. His
current girlfriend at the party, but he trying to play me like we not in contact. So I'm like, this nigga got his nerve.
Well, it wasn't that I had nerve. It was just that I was in contact with more than just you. Okay,
he was hoeing, is what he's saying.
So is it safe to say that when you say contact, you're referring to a certain thing?
Not every time, no. And you'll never know which time I'm talking about what. So anyway, so then we come to the wedding.
We need a glossary here.
So we get to the wedding day, okay, and I see Anthony, and I'm really excited to see him.
Well, you weren't excited to see me at the wedding because you had saw me the night before at the skating rink.
You're right, but I'm still like, okay, maybe this was something else. You know what I'm saying? So here's the wedding day.
She sees me pull up. I believe at this time I had my second car. It was a 2002. Monte Carlo, and it was nice, brand spanking new, and I pull up with another female. So it was probably a heightened sense of hurt because we're young, but I have adult toys. Does that make sense? And,
Adult toys. What does that mean?
like I'm a 18-year-old riding around in a grown man car.
Oh, okay.
And, I like to put it on. You know what I'm saying? And I think we had to wear suits. Yeah. We wore suits and different things like that. And, I was just trying to be there for my brother, man. I think I was one of the ushers or something like that. And I wasn't really thinking about how it looked to her. I was more so thinking about, hey, man, we here having a good time. She loves Jeremy. I love Jeremy. That's my brother. And, they had a close relationship as well. So we just there to support. But I was naive to the fact that it bothered her as much as it did, and didn't know until her friend, my cousin, came up to me and kind of, pulled my coattail in a cuss out Georgia way. And I got it. I was like, man, that's not what I meant. But, people always like to throw up their intentions when they're wrong. You know what I mean? So I just owned it. I believe I called you and apologized. And we stayed in contact after that. To the point where the girl that I went to the wedding with, about 3 months later, I was at the apartment. Something was going on. I believe my power or something was off. Mm-hmm. And the girl that I went with had just came over and took care of that for me. Mm-hmm. And I was she left, and I had contacted you to come over.
Right.
And you did.
Right.
And you came over, and we made contact with each other.
No, we was just talking, chilling.
That's what I'm talking about. That's contact, right? And your glossary, right?
Anyway, carry on with the story.
Yeah. So anyway, one left. She came, but the one that left, I think her hubcap or something fell off her car. And when that happened, and first of all, I was wrong. I was a kid.
You were not a kid.
I was mentally a kid with adult things.
All right. You were definitely an adult.
So I had a real thing with the young lady, and it was real. It wasn't. I wasn't trying to play or anything like that. I was very transparent with this young lady. I think one of the biggest things I shared with her was that I didn't graduate high school, which was a big deal for me because, she was in Spelman. Her family was real big on education. I started feeling like I wasn't worthy enough to be with her and different things. So I definitely had feelings for this girl. It's just that when she left to go do it, I think she was going to work or something like that. When she left, my roommates weren't there. It was just me, and I'm like, oh, let me call Constance. She lives up the street. So I called Constance. I made contact with Constance, and she came over, and we was chilling in the dark. And I got a call while we were there. Hey, my hubcap fell off. I'm going to come back so you can put it on for me. I'm like, huh? I'm like, no. You just snap it back on. You just push it. And you place it and push it. Push. And she's like, no, Anthony, what you doing? I'm like, okay. So I'm like, you got to go. The girl is on her way back over here. And, as we're coming up the stairs, the young lady is pulling up. And she's from Chicago. So she's like, what the F is going on? What's this all about? Constance is Jonesboro, but comes from a militant family. So
I am Wayne Jones' daughter.
That's exactly what it is. And she ain't no punk. So her thing was, you need to have a conversation with him. And she went to sit in my car. Wait a minute. Did I come pick you up? Or did you drive? I think you drove, but why did you sit in my car?
I think you picked me up.
Did I?
I don't, because I feel like that night you gave me your keys to go back home and I took your car home. So anyhow, yes. So she came, she's going off, trying to get all in my face. And I'm like, I'm not with it.
Right.
Like, your beef is not with me. It's with him. Because I don't know what y'all got going on. So you need to talk to him. And so they have their conversation on the outside. I'm sitting in the car, like, waiting to go. And then at some point, she gets in the car to converse with me about what's going on. And I let her know, like, hey, I don't know what's going on between y'all. I'm not in the middle of none of that. But he asked me to come over and I came. So whatever y'all got going on, y'all need to figure that out or whatever. The conversation kind of ended.
I ended it with some stupid.
I love her? What you say?
Do I love her? Yes.
Do I love you?
Yes. I'm confused. It's
like
crazy, man.
Like a movie.
Now, it came out that way. It was definitely probably a scene off. You got to realize, I was the only child. I grew up in a house where my mom worked the night shift. So, TV shows raised me. I know all the TV shows. So it's like, that
was a perfect
Will
movie.
Smith, do I love you? Yes. Do I love you? Yes. Yeah, I forgot the other part. I was a mess. I think in that moment I was just looking for a blunt
and a way out.
And a way out, man. And I was just horrible, man. But yeah.
Yeah, so that happened. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Time passes. I don't know what happened with that, but eventually he and I get back together. He tells me, at the time we both were working at the church. So I got my job as a receptionist, and he was working in facilities, I think. And he pulled up in one of the company vehicles and told me to hop in. And he's just telling me like how dumb he's been. Because by this time we done had the argument. He done acted shady at the wedding, and so much has happened. So he's like,
so much has happened. Well, now let's not leave certain things out. Constance had started, making contact with other people, a few of them, and the thought of that in my head, I couldn't live with.
When you say making contact with other,
you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I legit only had like a couple of relationships.
About 5.
Like 4, 5. Yeah.
5. About 5.
So, but at that time, like,
which would be defined as a few.
I guess.
A couple is like 2.
I mean, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, okay.
So anyhow, after he hurt my feelings at the wedding, I was like going into depression. Now I don't do like, I was very, self-confident. You know what I'm saying? So I really didn't do these type of modes, but this particular scenario really did a number on me. And so I was very sad about it and I went into a depression. And so my mentor at the time, she was like, you need to just cut him off completely. Like, stop talking to him. Don't let him, page you. And like, you need to.
She was definitely a hater. I know who you are.
She was not a hater.
It didn't work. Nothing but love for you now, but yeah.
It totally worked because I did it.
It didn't.
So,
see?
No. She says I needed to cut off contact because I was like overly
She needed to cut off contact.
I was overly indulging in what was going on with him at the time, which I wasn't his business. So she's like, you just need to kind of get busy doing other things. You know what I'm saying? Don't call him. If you have an urge to call him, call me. And I did this for months. So he's crying, talking about it didn't work. It did work because I stopped talking to him altogether.
Talking about it didn't work. What are you talking about?
Just now, you were talking about how it didn't work. But I did it. And so when I mentioned him pulling up in the vehicle to come talk to me, that was after us not having spoken
that's true.
In months.
That's true.
And at this point, he's like, okay, he's coming to his senses, and he's like, you're the one for me.
This is after she wasn't a receptionist at this time. She was working in teen ministry. And I would see her walking up the hallways. And, you know, teen ministry, you didn't have to wear like dress up clothes. You could wear like jeans and stuff. Well, no.
Both.
Yeah. I think they had some days they could dress casual or whatever.
Yeah.
But, man, I think this is when apple bottom jeans came out or something like that. I don't know what it was. But, man, I was with my boy Phil. And I was like, nigga. You see Constance? He was like, man, I ain't looking at that, man. I was like, bruh. He was like, yeah, you stupid, bruh. I was like, I know, bruh. I know, right? I am, ain't I? I'm going to fix it. And then that's when
he came and talked to me, yeah. And he just told me that he had been stupid, that you've been stupid, and that, you know, I was the one for you, and that, you know, you were ready to be serious about it. And so that's when we got together. We decided we would, like, make it official. Mm-hmm. And then, so our adult relationship now is beginning. Right. So we were together from 12 to 16, and then we had a break. And now our adult relationship is beginning. Mm-hmm. So our adult relationship began, and it kind of went by pretty quickly. You know what I'm saying? Because at this point, we know each other very well. Yeah. I've known you since I was 11, and now I am 19. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we know we love each other. And so we had conversations about what we wanted to do. You told me you wanted me to be your wife. And so now we're just kind of dating, keeping that in mind, that we're moving toward marriage at this point. And I'm 19, you're 21.
And by this
two
time,
kids.
Yeah, I've got 2 kids.
And
I think I wanted to make it official. Mm-hmm. So I went, there's this place on, what's that road? It's the same road Sam's is on in Jonesboro.
Mount Zion Boulevard?
I don't know.
Anyway.
But whatever road that is, there was this hibachi restaurant called Golden Buddha.
Golden Buddha.
And we went there, and I had went there the day before to talk to the chef and told him what I wanted to do or whatever. So I gave the chef a ring, and he made a heart. No. I kept the ring. But he made a heart out of rice and then put something in it and made it started beating. And when he did that, I got down on my knee and I said, Constance Deanne Jones, will you marry me? And she cried, and everybody, oh my God, he's so do. And she said yes. And I gave her a ring, a very nice ring. Not the ring that she has now, I've upgraded, but the first ring, and we'll tell the story on that too. The first ring was a platinum ring that belonged to my mother. And I gave it to my wife, and she said yes. Yep.
And life began. And
I think at the time I was living in a townhouse in Hampton.
And I was living with my parents.
3-bedroom spot. So we were going to do the whole big wedding thing and all that stuff, and things started getting, well, the girl's parents are supposed to pay for it, and then I think my dad was trying to pay for it and different things like that, and I was like, man, I ain't got time for all this stuff, and we decided to just go to the courthouse.
Yeah.
What? You can tell your version of it.
Yeah,
That's
about
how
that.
It happened.
We were planning a whole wedding, and I was very excited. And
I told the nice side, so
I was very excited about this wedding that I was planning with my childhood love.
Right.
And it was kind of, we were going back and forth about how we were going to do it, how big it was going to be, and things of that sort. I was trying to figure it out and piece it out because at the time, my parents' financial situation was not the same as his parents' situation. Okay. And so his dad did offer for us to have a wedding that would have been absolutely beautiful. But for whatever reason, Anthony decided that, let's just wait, because it looks like it's being all on my dad, and like your parents are supposed to be paying for it. And he was like, we could just do this later. And, I was excited about marrying him. And so then I started to reconsider, because I wanted to be married, even though I really wanted this wedding. And I'm going to be honest that even to this day, that is something that is a very sore spot for me. Because my mom, she said, when I told her we weren't going to have a wedding, we were just going to get married, she was like, don't do it. You're going to regret it. Now, my mom did this.
So pay for it.
My sister did this. And yeah, shut up. Yeah, that's a no. Yeah, that's a...
Okay.
Anyway, as you can see, that part of our situation, to this day,
so we'll have a wedding. We're going to have a wedding.
I'm over it. We can talk about how
I'll pay for it.
We can talk about how that has come up like 5 times in the 18 years we've been married, and he's declined every time. So I'm over it at this point. Definitely still a sore spot. But on the flip side, our relationship is amazing. Why are you maximizing on a freaking wedding ceremony? Because when you grow up, there are certain things that you want. And mine doesn't even have to be like 200 people's deep. We literally, because his father is a pastor, we literally had him sign the paperwork. We went to his house, and they made us dinner. He had his chef make us dinner, and we went to his house in Hampton Forest, and we had dinner, and he and his wife, he and my mother-in-law prayed over us, the blessing that's on them, because they're preachers.
I don't even remember that.
They prayed the blessing that's on them to be on Anthony and I. And then we discussed just how marriage would be. And they gave us their wisdom. And that was it. We've been married 18 years. That was literally, like, there was no promises made. We didn't say, like, with this ring, I promise to vow to you.
We did all that when we were teenagers.
So what I'm saying is that's how our marriage started.
Now, let me say this. I don't want to come off like a jerk. Okay? The wedding is as important to me as it is to her, because it is a sore spot, and any respectable husband wouldn't want his wife to have any sore spots, especially something as sensitive and as monumental as that. So I'm very cognizant of that fact. What I will say is that we will have a wedding. When that happens, I'm figuring all that out. But when it happens, it's going to be great. But I've enjoyed the 18 years we've been together and hadn't had to spend all of that. We're getting ready to go on a cruise.
We are now June. Again. Our relationship is great.
We've been to we've
lived. I'm not saying that our relationship.
We put it on, babe.
I'm not saying that the relationship is horrible.
Come on now.
We have 4 kids.
Yeah.
We bought a house at 23.
I was 23,
and I was 22.
You were 20.
No, I was 22 because I got pregnant at 20.
Okay.
Right. We got married and I got pregnant at 20. Had Shane at 21. Had Riley at 22. So when I got pregnant with my second child, which was our 4th together, he was like, "Yeah, we can't stay in this townhouse. We need bigger space." And so we bought our first house.
We did. 2,800 square feet.
4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms. At 22, that's amazing.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? And we stayed in that house for 10 years.
10 years.
That house, I learned a lot in that house.
Yeah,
I grew up because I came from my parents' house and then moved into his townhouse when we got married. We spent maybe like a year, maybe less than a year, a little over a year.
A little over a year.
in the townhouse, but this was my first time managing bills, my first time having to manage bills, be a wife, all of the things. And so I learned a lot of that from Anthony, because he had already been through this. So Anthony has been by far one of my greatest teachers. He taught me how to drive. He was my first sexually, so all that I know. Ta-da!
No, not all that you know.
The majority of what I know. Okay. The majority.
I experienced you. Taught you some things.
So he taught me, I learned how to manage a household, while with him. So a lot of what I've learned, coupled with, the tools my parents gave me, we have grown together. So.
And I've learned from her as well, her and her family. I used to scoff at, they would have like family meetings and all right, let's do this and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, who does that? Well, that's because it was unfamiliar to me and I thought it was weird or like on some TV type stuff. But Mr. Jones showed me how to lead a family and not just a crew or a business. I learned the business part from my dad, but the intimacy that he created within his family is what I learned from being connected to her. But I learned it by way of him through her.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me because I didn't have that example I didn't have that example. Okay. And when I saw him and how he moved and how he moved with his family, how he moved with me, it taught me. So that's where I'm like, all right, we're going to have dinner as a family. So when I started doing it in my family, is a direct result of what I seen him do with his. We would have family meetings when I felt like things were getting off and different things like that. Well, all that came from Mr. Jones, having the family meetings and different things. And I was just, a lot of times my brother and I would have to sit outside or whatever when they would be going in. And then sometimes we would be privy to it. And it was just an amazing thing that we scoffed at first, but really imprinted in my psyche as far as how I plan to raise my children.
Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much how we met and how we became. Pretty. Thank you.
You just got them done?
I did. I sure did.
Nice.
A little Easter. Anyhow, since we've been married 18 years, I've literally known him since I was 11. And life has been a serious journey, but it has been beautiful. We have 4 kids. We have, in the 18 years that we've been married, Anthony has such a huge heart. We done had, I don't know how many people in and out of our house. We brought my niece in for a stint so that she could, grow up and have that family environment because she was the only child with my sister. And life has just been, it's been great.
It's been good. Not to say that there hadn't been trials, not to say that there hadn't been tribulations.
Definitely.
But it's like, where are those? It's like the David situation is like, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? We made it through them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy all the time. There was times where we wanted to quit. You have to realize she was with me when we were married. I was an active pimp. I wouldn't call it a pimp.
It was definitely a pimp. He can make it sound as sweet as he wants.
I was more of a manager or orchestrator of ladies' talents.
He was a pimp.
So let me explain, because that's too big of a statement to just leave general.
Okay.
So, not graduating high school, I didn't get my GED till I was like a full-fledged adult in my 30s, okay? there were certain jobs I was limited to the type of jobs I could get. Some of the things that we left out was my criminal background. I was hitting a lot of licks. I was robbing a lot of people. The people that I hung around were robbing a lot of people. We would rob I remember one time there was a couple of clubs on Old National, and they would get liquor. The liquor distributors would drop off liquor, and we would rob them, and then take off into Biscayne and then end up in Fifth Street. We did that too. That was like how we getting paid this week? So we did that, but as a married man, those things trickled over, but I calmed down a lot when Junior came, when I had my first son. When he came, I wasn't as foot soldier as I was prior to. I became more of the brain. So I would take what I learned traveling across the world with the church and seeing things like that, and I would implement it in the criminal world. So I had a lot of leadership that I learned. Definitely. And I would use it in a negative way. So my garage became like a conference room for hitting licks from
the planning.
Yeah, from dope boys to, convenience stores to you name it. There would be times where Constance would wake up 2-3 o'clock in the morning and come downstairs, and it's like 20 pounds of marijuana in her kitchen, and she's trying to figure out what is this, and she's afraid, and I'm trying to show, no, babe, let me show you how to, this is a nick, this is a dime, it's 28 grams an ounce, and I'm trying to show her how to, let's help me manage this. Don't be afraid of this. Embrace this.
No, you were trying to explain how pimping.
Oh, yeah. So I went on a tangent, but all of it was included. So the drugs and the robbing and stuff became too much. So I was looking for a softer way to make money that I could benefit from. And, I'm a good-looking dude. I feel like I am.
Definitely are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You trying to make content?
We can definitely make content.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You're a good-looking dude.
Oh, yeah. So I would use that, and I would never, test the product or anything like that. So I ran across a girl who was like really coming on to me, like really strong, but I was very adamant about, no, I'm married, I'm not doing this, and I just kicked it to her from a different perspective. And I started encouraging her and inspiring her and uplifting her. Everything that I learned from the church. And when I did that, there was a level of attraction that wasn't sexual, but it was lead me. So I led her. Now, prior to this girl, there was another girl that gave me a taste of what it would be like managing. But, I was way younger, and man, that was a horrible situation, man. I felt bad. I felt horrible because the young lady, she actually went to the church, and man, it's something I regretted to this day, because I felt like I exposed her to a life she wasn't supposed to be exposed to. So I left her alone, but the idea that I could pull it off was still in my head. So anyway, there was MySpace, there was Black Planet, and I started using them. Next thing you know, man, I'm trying to set up photo shoots at my homeboy's crib. And, I believe Constance was like 6-7 months pregnant with Riley. And she had Shane with her. She just popped up at the photo shoot, but she came in like an unfamiliar. She came in a way that would make her appear weak.
I came in like a wife who's trying to figure out why the F her husband is having a photo shoot with naked girls when he has a baby and a pregnant wife at home.
Yeah, I'm just saying how I viewed it at the time.
And I was saying just how I was coming.
I got you. I got you. Duly noted. So she came in and she was, and I'm like, whoa, chill. And one of the girls came out and she was naked, but she was like, oh, you must be Constance. And boom, boom, boom. Anthony told me everything about you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, give me a minute. And I pulled Constance outside. I said, listen, you the queen here. Don't come in like you a subordinate. I said, they work for you. This is our enterprise. I said, so if you want to help me, fix her hair, fix their makeup, you know.
None of it was never done.
None of it. She did calm down and she did sit down.
I did sit down.
She did sit down.
Because I wanted to see. That's why.
But she needed to make sure that her husband wasn't just out here just trying to screw chicks, but it was really business. And we were very professional, weren't we?
I did not have any issues with him sleeping with any of them.
None.
I will say that. Yeah.
None. They called her Mrs. Adams, and it was that. And it was a good thing. That didn't last long. I think we ended up doing a party for the Q's, college fraternity, man. And you know, me and my stepbrother, Cole, it's just me and him, and I may have had like a little 25 or something on me. But we went into this thing, and you got these big old FAMU looking dudes with the horseshoe branded in their arms and all this stuff. And we got these new girls that we had found by way of another female manager. And we didn't have, they had names, what we just called them 72s and 42s, because one looked like some 42-inch rims and one looked like some 72-inch rims. And those weren't the size rims came in at that time. But,
oh my God.
you know, we just tried to, you know, make it do what it do. But anyway, that situation ended up turning out very bad, and we stopped. We stopped the pimping part. Yeah. Going through all of that, pimping, selling drugs, robbing, Constance being upset because as much as I wasn't as involved in licks we were hitting, there were certain things that I still had to do. Now, mind you, I was doing these things while on a 5-year probation, where if I violated, I could have
spent 20 plus years.
20 plus years in prison. That didn't happen.
Thank God.
I got an ice cream truck. We started making a lot of money. Then I accepted the call of God on my life, and started back working at the church and team ministry. And the
rest is history. We've been there ever since.
Yeah.
Here we are 18 years later.
18 years later.
Still working with teenagers.
Yep.
He's been a mentor for young men like himself. So being able to go back to McNair, where he used to go to school and get in trouble and cause hell, now he can go and be a light, be a resource for young men in trouble, for single moms like his mom.
Yep. I received a proclamation.
You did, for the city of South Fulton.
For the city of South Fulton, the same city which I terrorized for years.
Yeah.
And, you know, our lives have evolved. We've grown.
Yeah.
And that's our story.
That's our story. The Addams family.
Addams family.